They say that good artists borrow, and the great ones, well, they steal. Miyazaki's great, maybe even superlative. I can't say that he directed the best movie ever made, but I can say that he directed my favorite. And in that movie is my favorite scene, and I don't mean that it's my favorite scene in my favorite movie. I mean that it's my favorite scene ever put to screen, period. Better than the T-Rex attack, better than the dinner roll dance, better than the introduction of Hans Landa. In it, a father takes his 2 daughters to see their mother in the hospital. The daughters enter the room first, while the father stays back to speak with the doctor. When the 3 girls are together, the dialogue is nothing special. That's what makes it so special. They talk about hair and the rickety house they're living in. The 2 sisters bicker a little, each one vying for their mother's attention. It does nothing to push the plot forward. Not that there's much of a plot to push forward in the first place. When the father finally enters the room, a seismic shift occurs in how the story is told. The camera moves outside and we no longer hear what is being said. The implication is clear. The moment is a private one. It doesn't matter that they're cartoon characters, the director shows his respect for this family by giving them privacy for the only moments during the film when they're all together. Well then, it's no wonder I found myself hypnotized by The Naked Island, a film by Japanese director Shindo Kaneto released in 1960. It's the story of a family of 4 living alone on an island with no fresh water or dialogue. Every day, the mother and father take several trips to the mainland to fill their wooden buckets with fresh water which they use to feed the plants they grow. They have 2 sons, close in age and demeanor, one of whom goes to school while the other stays home and helps on the farm. It's largely a procedural film focusing primarily on how the family lives, and their lives mostly revolve around going to the mainland to fill buckets with water to take them back to their farm. Look, I've spent my adult life trying to imagine a film quieter and more unencumbered by plot than My Neighbor Totoro, and failing. But here is its equal, and in terms of silence, it's superior. But as I continued to watch it, I started wondering, was Miyazaki a fan of this film? Maybe so. There sure are echoes of it all across his work, especially in Totoro, to the point that it doesn't feel like a coincidence. There's the goat that overtakes the frame. The family bath, a child on the brink, splayed out on tatami. 2 siblings frolicking through a life of nature. Buildings older than any world war. There's that classroom. The panic of a family emergency and the subsequent runs through rice fields in a desperate race against time. That violent vehicular approach. And the exhausted panting afterwards. I mean, goddamn, Miyazaki, leave something for the rest of us to cannibalize. As the film went on, the question on my mind wasn't whether or not Miyazaki had copied Shindo. It was why more filmmakers hadn't. I mean, this is the top of the mountain when it comes to show, don't tell filmmaking. It made me wish more filmmakers had the intelligence and courage to tell stories this quietly. I know I lack both, and Lord knows I've tried. And look, I'm not saying dialogue is a waste of the audience's time, but I can say that when the audience's time is being wasted, it's usually with dialogue. And eschewing conversation doesn't just mean making way for action. Sure, dialogue takes a back seat for action sequences, but that's just because it's so hard to speak over the din of the doof wagon. But pretty much any ingredient essential to your story can be communicated without dialogue. I mean, right now, you're looking at a screen with the image of an actor, pretending to be a director, who's looking at a screen with the image of an actor, who's pretending to be a different actor. But your brain cuts right through all of that conceptual noise and knows exactly what's being communicated. Heartbreak, tragedy, grief. And that's because that which is essential to the human condition existed before language, longing, fear, romance, anxiety, joy, despair. Everything that makes life delicious existed within our species before the creation of language, or the discovery of language, however you want to say it. So everything delicious can be communicated without language. It's a concept so banal that it seems silly to even say it. But as I get older, the more I worry that the simpler a concept is, the harder it becomes for people to articulate it. Particularly as they age and their worldview calcifies, myself included. But there's nothing missing from The Naked Island. The full spectrum of human emotions is communicated without compromise. It's an incredible piece of work and one that has echoes in my favorite film. Or maybe it doesn't. Miyazaki's a clever lad. Maybe he stumbled on all these images naturally, having never seen The Naked Island. Maybe the number of strokes you can make with a brush is simply limited. I mean, no matter how different the subject matter might be, an oil painting is always going to look like a canvas with oil-based paints on it. Maybe the same is true for film. Or maybe there's something more dangerous going on here. The problem could be constellations. Those stars never signed up to be Ursa Major or Orion. They're just stars, out there doing their star thing. And then we impressed all this order on them with our fevered imaginations. Maybe it's fun for my brain to categorize art and place things in buckets in the hopes of being able to parse the flood of data we're exposed to daily. Maybe these are just two beautiful films and my brain wants them to be the same because it loves them both for the same reasons. I mean, if you think about it, you can't trust your brain to tell you anything. Let's say you had an idea, and upon reflection you think it's a good idea. Well, that's a conflict of interest right there. Your brain told you the idea, and then your brain told you it was good. Of course it would endorse itself. But the door swings both ways. It's my brain that told me to be suspicious of my brain's opinion of my brain's work, so maybe my brain is trying to pull a double cross because it knows I've gotten wise to its treacherous ways, and if it tells me to second guess my thoughts, I'll second guess that thought because I don't trust it in the first place. Well, the joke's on you, brain. I haven't trusted you since I was 15 years old, and you told me that it would be just as easy to zipline with my feet as it would be with my hands. So if you ever wonder why I love these quiet movies, it's because I never get a minute of peace inside my own head. It's just me and my brain screaming at each other. Conflict of interest, second guess, double cross. Speaking of which, if they ever make a sequel to Being John Malkovich, it should star David Cross and be called Double Cross. See, I just had that idea, and my brain approved it for this script. Now you tell me it's not a backstabbing son of a bitch out to make me look like an idiot. So all I can do is borrow a bit of silence from films like My Neighbor Totoro and The Naked Island. But I'll be damned if I don't wish I could just steal it instead.